Okay, yeah, this is actually coming off one of my least favorite of the franchise. This is probably my favorite of the franchise, or at least of the main franchise. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was released in 1984, directed by Joseph Zito, starring Corey Feldman and Kimberly Beck. And yeah, that last one, part three, not one of my favorites of the franchise by any means. But this is probably my favorite of the original series. And honestly, if you ask any Friday the 13th fan, hey, what's your favorite movie of the Friday the 13th franchise? Most of them will either tell you this one or part six. And there's a good reason because this movie is just awesome in my opinion. So let's go ahead and start off with the good. And starting the good, you got some pretty good characters in this movie. First, you got Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis, and Corey Feldman is just a very underrated actor in my opinion. I wish he got more stuff these days. And Tommy is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated recurring characters across horror because Tommy Jarvis is to Jason what Dr. Loomis is to Michael or what Nancy is to Freddy Krueger. He shows up in a few movies to fight Jason or help the main character fight Jason. And I really like Tommy. I think he's a cool character. We'll get into more use of him later on in this franchise. But I really liked the introduction, and I think Corey Feldman did a great job as Tommy in this movie for the introductory role of Tommy Jarvis. And then you also got the character of Trish, played by Kimberly Beck, and she's the final girl of this movie. And I think she does a really great job as well. I really like her chemistry with Corey Feldman, especially in the third act. And aside from those two, you get some really fun performances from other actors. Crispin Glover's in here doing his Crispin Glover thing. And I really, really liked the rest of the characters in this movie. And then you have the man himself, Jason Voorhees. I mean, obviously, Jason is an icon of the slasher genre. As subjectively bad some of these movies get for me, I can't deny the fact that Jason is, in fact, an iconic character, and I really like the physical performance of Jason in this movie, as I always have. And you get some pretty brutal kills in this movie as well, and the story is your typical slasher formula, but I feel like this movie is what perfected the whole formula that this franchise has become known for. You get the camp setting, group of new characters, Jason's picking them off one by one, and eventually someone defeats him at the end. I feel like this movie gets that formula the best out of any movie in this franchise. And I really love the way that they handle the formula because, yes, it's typical, but it's still fun the way that they utilize it. And the score elevates that as well. And the camera work, very 80s, but I still really love it. And I love the way the movie ends on this note of what actually happened because we end on this freeze frame that makes us wonder, did Jason transfer his soul into Tommy? That's kind of what I picked up from the ending of this movie. I don't know if somebody else picked up something different, but that's what I picked up either way. Yeah, I just really love this movie. On from the good, on to the bad. And I guess this movie does go a little long. Most of these movies are an hour and a half. I believe this one was an hour 45. I don't remember, but either way, the runtime on this movie, it probably was a little too long. But that's about all for the bad. On to the final thoughts. This is one of my favorites in the franchise, if not my absolute favorite. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is a badass entry into the Friday the 13th franchise, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. That was my thoughts on Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Have you seen this movie? What did you think about it if you have seen it? And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.